So yes. I'm a Christian, but I think it's funny. I almost make a point to like purposefully swear in front of other Christians. I can promise you, Jesus doesn't give a if I swear. All right. At the end of the day, it's all about like
everything else.
Do I honor him and do I love others?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if I'm swearing. So.
Well, and also, I mean, there wasn't curse words back then. So now you have to ask yourself, well, if those words were around, Jesus would use them.
Probably.
And me, I'm an atheist, so this will be a fascinating conversation if we continue to talk about it.
Funny how.
Come here, though. Yeah, he's crazy, see? Who are you? We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
Let's do it. What's up, dude?
What up?
Holy cow. This is, so we're in person.
What the heck?
This has never happened.
Yeah, we are. Wait, I didn't ask you before we started this, but like, on your podcast, you care if I swear? Because
fuck no.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. I think we just have to ask the good Lord above if he's okay with that.
Yeah, I think Jesus is still gonna love me at the end of the day. Yeah,
because Jesus Christ. I mean, that's like the best curse word you could say.
I will say, I've already told you this, so I'm a Christian, but I think it's funny. Just on that topic, this is so random, but I almost make a point to like purposefully swear in front of other Christians because when it makes them uncomfortable, I want to point out the fact that I'm like, you are not caring or worrying about the correct things in your Christianity. Like I can promise you, Jesus doesn't give a fuck if I swear. All right. At the end of the day, it's all about like
everything else.
Do I honor him and do I love others?
Yeah.
It doesn't fucking matter if I'm swearing. So.
Well, and also, I mean, there wasn't curse words back then. Like there is today.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, there was maybe different versions of it. Yeah.
But, when they talked about damn, they talked about damn you to hell.
Yeah.
It wasn't like,
Yeah.
Those damn Buccaneers. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've never read cunt in the Bible before.
Right. So now you have to ask yourself, well, if those words were around, Jesus would use them.
Probably. He'd probably do the same thing that I do is to like make all the, because Jesus' big thing was he went after the religious, like elite prophecy people, right?
He was the Trump of...
Basically, he was like, you care more about religion than you do like loving others. I'm commanding you to love others. Like, fuck your religion.
That's right.
This is about...
Yeah.
Right?
It's almost like everyone was protecting the actual umbrella and not what goes underneath it.
Yes.
He's like that blanket statement of, and I think that's the thing, we've talked about this before, but that's the interesting thing to me with religion is there's so many great things that come from it.
Yeah.
And by the way, we'll take a beat here. If people don't know, we've never met in person.
I know. We just kind of skated over that a little bit.
We've done 3 episodes.
Yeah, we've done a few podcasts together.
Yeah,
and we've talked a lot in between that too.
Yeah,
so.
But it's all virtually. So this is fun. But yeah, religion to me, it's so interesting because again, there is so many great things with it. And me, I'm an atheist, so this will be a fascinating conversation if we continue to talk about it.
Yeah.
But I'm more agnostic, where I'm not. It's not that I don't believe in God. It's just I'm not like evidence driven either.
Okay.
Like there's always like, oh, show me evidence. I don't know if that's a good argument because like, show me evidence that the world is round, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what the famous scholars back in the day would say.
Yeah.
The earth is flat for sure, 100% guaranteed it's flat. And then turns out it's not flat. But the smartest people.
Wait, it's not?
It's not. Yeah.
Okay.
Unless you ask the 50 people on YouTube, on the internet. But like, the Elon Musk of the world back then, the smartest billionaires in the world, 2,000 years ago, would tell us that it was flat. So, of course, everyone believed him. But now we obviously know through science that is true. So, like, we could just not know all the information right now. So, I'm never, like, 100% saying there isn't something. I just don't know, which is why I'm more agnostic. And I think the beautiful thing about religion, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not necessarily the belief in one person, depending on if you're Catholic, Christian, whatever. But it's those values that you mentioned. That's the important... Those are the nuts and bolts of the machine. The machine is religion, but you can't have the machine without the nuts and bolts, the mechanics of it.
Yeah.
And the mechanics is good values, treat others how you want to be treated. Like those are the types of things. Just because you go to church every Sunday and you believe in God, if you're leaving that church and not doing the values in which that religion is, forced upon you.
Well, there's people I've met in my life before where a lot of the people that go to church every single Sunday are more fucked up than a person who's never walked into the doors of a church before.
I mean, I've been with Catholic girls. Hello. They're not always, honed in on the religious aspects. Trust me. I have video footage. No.
Oh, Jesus. I think so. So for me, right? I mean, I don't know how deep you want to get into it, but I always tell people.
How deep would Jesus get into this?
Okay, well, I'll go as deep as you want me to. But I tell people all the time, I say, I hate religion, but I love Christianity. And what I mean by that is you're talking about a value system and morals, and when you leave the doors of a church, right, it's about 167 hours in between the next time you walk back into the church, right?
That's right.
What are you doing in those hours? For me, I kind of set that to the side. I view it as a relationship. And through that relationship, my heart is changed to produce those values and those morals. So I spend less time focusing on, am I doing the thing, like WWJD? Am I doing what Jesus would want me to do? Am I, you know what I mean? And it's more time. And people watching, I understand. I understand it's not for everybody. I understand that. And I'm not trying to convince anybody that this is the way of life. I'm just simply saying what I do and what works for me, right? So I spend time in like a relationship talking to, just sitting in silence. And through that, I'm given this, I don't know, this heart-filling peace that I'm able to go out and love other people and walk in a way that would, I don't even like to say honor God, because I am so far away from the mindset of Christianity is about things you need to do. I need to check the boxes.
Right.
I say, fuck the boxes. Start with just spending time with the Creator who created you and loves you more than anything, and your heart will be changed through that, right?
Right.
Because even through Christianity, if you don't know, and anybody watching or listening, maybe you don't give a shit. Maybe you don't care, but that's fine. But through Christianity, when Jesus died, right, he said, nobody comes to the Father except through me. And he didn't say, I say it all the time, I go, Jesus, it's Jesus, period, right? People talk about, well, how do you get to heaven? You got to be a good person. You got to do this. Check 1, check 2, check 3, right?
Right.
No, it's Jesus, period. You put your faith in him, put your trust in him, have a relationship with him, right? That's it. And because he died on the cross, because we're wicked sinners and we're horrible human beings and we can't go to heaven without him, we need to put our faith in him in order for that to happen. But that's the only way. So when I hear people say, like, if I was to ask somebody, for example, like, how do you know you're going to heaven, right?
Yeah.
They'd be like, well, I trust in Jesus and
I do this.
That's when they lose me, right? I'm like, you don't get it. You don't understand.
Yeah.
Jesus didn't die on the cross and say, put your faith in me and do all these other fucking things and then you'll go to heaven, right? He said, no, put your faith in the fact that I died for your sins because I love you so much and I want you to be living in eternal heaven with me. And that's it. That's all you have to do. Put your trust in me. We're all going to fall short.
Right.
I'm a sinner. I suck every single day.
Yeah.
I could try to do check boxes 1 through 1 trillion and I'm going to fuck it up every single day. But if I can come back and I can have that peace and I can have that time and I can talk with Jesus, and that's where I get my life, right?
And he knows that we were going to make mistakes and we're going to, that's the human race, right?
Yeah.
Because that's, again, Pornhub wasn't around back then, okay? Like, you're going to make mistakes.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay? So as long as you understand the core values of, like, getting back on track and figuring things out, because, that was the whole thing with religion, because I grew up kind of like Catholic. Yeah. I mean, I remember a handful of times going to church, but for whatever reason, my whole family just didn't, we didn't deny anything, we just didn't embrace it, And I don't know if there's a good or bad in that, because, I mean, the argument could be made that every single war is caused by religion, right? Yep. Not necessarily Christianity, of course. But people get so passionate about it because, like you said, I think when you believe in one specific person, not in the way you're talking about, but in terms of, like, I don't want to point out certain religions, but there are a lot of religions out there where if you believe in one person and you're told that if you do these bad deeds, you're going to go see this person and be rewarded.
Yeah.
That's a problem for everyone here on earth. Because who knows if that's true, but they believe so much that it's true.
Yeah.
That they're willing to die for it and to harm other people for it. This is where I think where people in recent decades have kind of turned away from religion, because the idea of religion is not what you're talking about. What you're talking about is those values that are instilled into you as a Christian. And that's just if you pull back the layer and remove the word God, those are just good values. Those are common sense. Like when you wake up and I raise my daughter not religious or religious, either way, when they become 18, they're going to realize, don't kill people. That makes sense. These are values that,
what a fucking shocker.
Shocker, right?
Yeah.
But again, don't hate people of different races and colors and ethnicities. Like these are all common human values that, ironically, everyone in the world does not share.
Yeah.
Why is that though? It's because of religion. It's because of those religious beliefs. So some could say that Christianity kind of set the staple for these good values, and then just over time got diluted into some bullshit that maybe some people don't like. And I think other countries that don't follow it, they believe they're in the right. And that to me is why I lean more towards agnostic, is because I forget the number, but I think there's like 3,000 religions in the world.
Yeah. Well, again, that goes back to when I say I hate religion.
Right. The word.
You know what
religion,
I mean?
The umbrella of it.
It's so like, okay, so if I was to ask you, being agnostic, right? Your family, you said you grew up around religion, whatnot. If there was anything that kind of ultimately turned you off from it, like what would that be?
I can't think of a memory or a core memory of it because I was so little. But I think just the overall ability, the vulnerability, I guess you could say, of believing into one person.
Okay.
That to me, I think, was not necessarily a turnoff, but it was like, if I do the good things and he does exist and I go up there, is he going to be a prick and say, hey, you didn't believe in me, but you were a perfect human being. Go fuck you. You're going downstairs.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think if I'm a good human, even though I don't believe in him.
Yeah.
And there is a heaven, and I go up there, and he's like, Tony, what's up, man? Been waiting for you. How are you? You were such a good human. Come on in.
Yeah.
Or is he going to really say, listen, bro, everything was great, but you didn't pray. You're going downstairs. Sorry. Fuck you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think if there is a God and he is what everyone thinks that he is, as long as you're a good human and you get up there, that's all. I think that's all he would want.
See, I think that's where I think that's where the lines kind of get blurred a little bit and people get confused. Is like you said, is people, they go with the if I do this, and this, you know what I mean? And I'm again
the check in the boxes you're talking about. Yeah.
But when the reason I asked like what maybe turned you off is because what I hear from a lot of people that have either maybe were Christian or were part of a religion and then walked away and deconstructed. Right. A lot of the time when I ask why, it's, well, there was somebody at church or there was some person that religious people just kind of like, they're always condemning me. They're
Catholic and they're like, they've touched one too many boys. Like,
exactly.
That makes sense.
People like, in my experience, the majority of the time when people have walked away from it, it's because they've felt judged by somebody in it, or they felt condemned by somebody in it, or they were wronged by somebody in it. And that's why, like I told you when we first started this, like I will intentionally try to piss religious people off because I think religious people are the number one reason why like more people aren't Christians, is because they fuck it up for everybody else because they worry about the wrong shit and they try to implement the wrong shit onto you. They try to say, I'm holy because I open up the door for my friends.
Right.
Like, you're going to hell because you just walked in without doing it. You know what I mean? That's a very...
Now, and we're not talking about Democrats here. Because it sounds like...
No.
I'm just kidding. Because that's what they do. They push ideas. But... Oh, hey.
Oh, what up?
Haley, the producer here. No, you're fine. I saw you in my peripherals. It's all good. Keep it going.
But that's where, at my core, right, I get extremely upset with religious people.
Right.
Because I think obviously mine, I don't even like denominations. I don't even like,
Yeah, of course.
most of the time, I don't even like saying Christianity. I just like saying that I have a relationship with Jesus. I'm not a part of a religion. I'm not a part of like, I just have a relationship with Jesus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I drive my life based off of that because I feel like most of the religious people fuck it up for everybody else when they,
For sure.
like I said, they condemn you and you know what I mean? And that's where it comes back to like, no, it's Jesus, period. Shut the fuck up.
Right.
Like, I would rather go spend time with some coked out dude on a corner that's having a real conversation with me than sit with you pretentious, like Christian religious people who, like Jesus even said to the Pharisees, who were like the religious elite people, he said, you wash the outside of a cup when the inside is dirty and rotten. And basically he's like, where is your fucking heart? Like, you can, show to everybody that this perception that you're perfect, but like, where's your heart at? So that's where I always come back to, like, where's my heart? You know what I mean? Like, spending time with Jesus allows me to realign my heart, and it's not centered around, am I checking these boxes so I look holy and mighty to the people around me? Fuck that, dude. Like, and I guess for me, like, even when you say, like, if I do the good things and I get up there, and I think a lot of people have that view, you know what I mean? Sure. And that's fine. Everybody, like, we're free to believe whatever the fuck we want, dude. Right. You know what I mean?
Well, depending on what country you're in. Yeah.
That's true, too. And some of you might get your hands chopped off and drugged through the street. I don't know. But so that's kind of your viewpoint is, I do the good thing. And I think that's great. Like, I'm going to love people. I'm going to be good. And if I get up there, and we'll see when the day comes. You know what I mean? Right. I guess I think I kind of grew up like that as well. Mm-hmm. But I more so grew up with the mindset of, like, dude, if I do turn on Pornhub, I'm going to hell. Right, you know what I mean? Sure. Or dude, if I do, like, fool around with my girlfriend in high school, like, I'm going to hell. You know what I mean? Right. Yeah. And I think as I got older and I was introduced to the idea of, like, it's less about the things you need to do to, like, try and be right with God, and focus on the only thing that actually makes you right with God, which is putting trust in the fact that Jesus died for you and just spending time with him, whatever the fuck that looks like.
Surrender yourself to.
Driving down the road and just allowing yourself to, I don't know, maybe be open to the idea that there's a supernatural being out there that's trying to communicate with you or whatever. You know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
But I guess when that shifted for me, and that's kind of as I grew into an adult and got away from what I was taught as a child and religious, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. It all comes back to, so Jesus gave this, like, famous, it's called the Sermon on the Mount. It's in the Bible. Right. And he, in this sermon, he talked about kind of what you're talking about, where you could do good deeds your whole life. And he said to the people like that, he goes, it's great that you did all this, but I never knew you. I never knew who you were. Like, I just wanted to talk to you. I wanted you to talk to me. I wanted you to come to me with all of your problems. And just so oftentimes, like, when I'm praying, I might just start it out by, like, Jesus, today fucking sucked. Right. You know what I mean? I'm a piece of shit. Yeah. And, like, I did this and I did that, and just like, okay, this was a good talk. You know what I mean? Just all those little micro things throughout the day.
Yeah,
but
it doesn't have to be so structured like we, we're known to as kids. And, again, I think there's something beautiful about that as well, where, like, I'm very big into, like, contrast therapy and meditation, yoga, and all that stuff. So, like, when I do, like, an ice bath or a sauna, I disconnect from my devices, and I'll go in there for 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I'll sometimes do the sauna at 170 degrees, and sometimes I just do some self-reflecting. And even though I don't put the word Jesus or God in those quote-unquote prayers, it's more of
you're doing the same thing.
I'm doing the same thing, the self-awareness type of thing. And, again, for me, going back to, like, if there is something like 3,000 religions, for me, the hard thing now, as I'm almost 40, as I'm starting a family, it's hard for me to not necessarily wrap my head around this, but it's hard for me to say, okay, Christianity is that one religion. Yeah. But the other 2,999 are incorrect.
Yeah, I get it.
And again, something beautiful about both sides, devil's advocate here, pun intended, is the idea of, like, if I tell someone else that doesn't believe in Christianity, but they believe in whatever religion that they believe in.
Yeah.
If I put my 2 daughters, this is how I always think of it now that I have a daughter, is like, let's say I raise my daughter to be Catholic or Christian, and then there's another kid that, is Jewish or, whatever, Muslim, and whatever religion they believe in. If they put the 2 of them in a room and they're kids and they're grown on these 2 totally different stories, who is correct? And how does that conversation go when the adult gets back in the room?
Yeah.
No, yours is correct. No, yours is correct. It's this weird thing that I start to think about now to where, okay, so does that mean we need to have division in order for these 2 religions to exist?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's a way where they could both exist because, again, I go back to when I self-meditate or when I reflect, I believe there is something that we don't know. There's a 4th dimension. There's, because I've done some drugs too. So I know I've seen some shit that could be considered hallucinogenic, or it could be like, I just hit another planet. So I think there is something out there, and I think it's something spiritual. And I think there is a difference between spirituality and religion. And I think it's more so on the spiritual side.
Yeah.
Because
it's definitely on the spiritual side. Yeah.
And again, this is, I think, the problem with religion. There's so many good things with it, but I think if we all said there's a spiritual aspect of it, just like there is language.
Yeah.
What's correct, English or Spanish? What should you be speaking?
Yeah.
Right? I don't think the answer is or. I think it should be and. And I think if we look at the spiritual side of things, I think if you're Muslim or Jewish or Christian or Catholic, I think the word should be and it all could lead to this one person. Maybe it's God, maybe it's, some other person or some other name. I don't think the attachment to the name is what's important. I think it's the idea of all leading up to that.
Yeah.
And that's why I think, depending on the religion, of course, there's not necessarily a bad religion. It's however you're raised, looking back at it, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, this is leading me to one path that's not going to get me to that one person.
Yeah.
But then I also look at it like, on the flip side, Santa Claus. Eventually, a kid, you're going to have to tell him Santa Claus doesn't exist. Spoiler alert, not real.
My daughter's not allowed to watch this.
Right, yeah. But it's like, that's a hard conversation to have. So on that same point of religion and God or whatever you're believing in, there's going to be a time in your life where you're going to be tested and you're going to have to tell that other individual, hey, that religion isn't correct. It's Christianity that's correct, or whatever the religion is. That's just, to me, as an agnostic, it makes more sense to not put my quote-unquote faith into everything that I can't see.
Yeah.
I'd rather just put it into the things that I can and that I can control. And I've always been a psycho about this, to where don't lose your attitude with things you can't control.
Yeah.
That's like my mantra. And I can't control that. And it's scary. And, giving myself to that other power. I see a lot of people that are hardcore Christians, not like yourself, because I love your belief and how you're talking about it. But other people that are like, again, I use the Democrats as an example as a joke, but I'm objective and I vote Republican and Democrat. But I use it as a joke because lately they've been kind of pushing a lot of ideas and ideologies that, maybe a vast majority of the country doesn't believe in.
Yeah.
And I think that's fascinating because that's how some people that are religious are, is they'll push this religious belief on you with a couple sentences of information. It's like, no, man, I need to sit down and have a conversation with you, and I don't need you to convince me. I just want to hear your belief, and let's find common ground. And I think that is the problem with religion, is because there is so many people that push a certain religion on. It scares people away, and it pushes people away.
It's people fucking it up for everybody else. Yeah.
And that, to me, is like the cool thing with being agnostic is like I just sit back and I like to look at everything.
Yeah.
And I like to be more objective with everything. And also, too, it kind of pisses me off so much. Like, my mother's very religious now, and we always kind of joke around and have this debate. But I say, like, we were going through some tough times with trying to conceive. We went through IUIs and IVFs and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And, it took us 2 years and a lot of money. And she prayed every night for me, apparently, for what she said. Who knows? She might have been praying for a new car. I don't know. But she told me, she's like, I'm going to pray for you. So, 2 years later, and I was just really pissed and irritated at some point. And I remember very vaguely or very specifically saying, She goes, I prayed for you last night. I'm going to continue. I go, you need to pray to someone else because he's not listening.
Yeah.
Like I was pissed. We spent $200,000. We spent, and I know the whole argument of like, I get it. Okay. Yep. Plus, I'm also like a realist. If there is a God, the fucker's busy. Okay. There's a lot of people on the planet. I get it. I don't expect him to do he's not a genie.
Yep.
Right.
That's important.
He's not a genie.
That's important to understand.
Okay.
Yep.
So, but then I also think to myself, okay, so if he can't get my wife pregnant, who deserves to be a mom, who's an incredible human being.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you got like these strippers that are getting pregnant constantly. Mm-hmm. It pisses me off. And I'm like, if he can't do that, just throw me a little bone first. But if he can't do that, then I'm not going to give him credit for everything that I do. Mm-hmm. And that to me has been kind of like circling my head in years late, where when my mother does tell me, oh, I got this new job and God, thank God I did. And I prayed every night to make money. And I go, Ma, you did it, bro. Mm-hmm. You did it. Like if you didn't pray, you still would have got it because you're a hard worker. Yeah. This to me is the frustrating part of religion.
For me as well.
Yeah.
Extremely frustrating.
Yeah, where it's like, I don't know if you should put, because here's the problem, right? You put all your faith in that, and if it doesn't pan out, we're humans.
Yeah.
You get discouraged.
Yeah.
And I'm working so hard, and then next thing you know, you're turning to drugs because God's not listening to you. No, man. You're just not working hard anymore. Yep. And I think it I don't want to say promotes laziness because that's not true. That's the wrong word. But it does promote this kind of like, right, non-entitlement where it's not me, it's my environment and I'm not praying enough and I need to continue to pray because historically, if you look at the most religious places in the country in particular, they're the poorest.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Is it because they started poor first and then they started praying and now things are going to start to look up? Or is it, no, they were really religious and, they don't need money and things and they're okay with that in community? I don't know. Maybe it's because they're too religious, if that's a word, where they're putting...
Absolutely it is.
They're putting all this faith into this one human being, but there's no action behind it.
Yeah.
And I think this is the problem with religion. And I think that's why a lot of the vast majority of the country voted Republican, ironically, even though they're hardcore Christians. I just think a lot of people are more bootstraps now, where they're like, I need to, listen, gas is expensive, food's expensive. Fuck this, I just need to get shit done. Yep. And I think that is now the mentality of the country. Yep. And for that, we become naturally less religious. Yeah. I mean, is that fair to say? Maybe we're too driven into innovation and materialism that...
Yeah, and I mean, I guess I can't speak for the majority of the country and maybe why.
Why are you here then? That's the only reason.
Why the fuck did you come here?
So you can just blindly speak for the majority of the population.
I think you could be right, absolutely. I think I 100% agree with like everything that you just said. And I think it honestly all comes back to that religion and religious people focus on the wrong shit. Like, right? And you talking about your mom, bless your mom, bless my mom. She does the same thing. You know what I mean?
God bless her, really.
Yeah, God bless you. But that is, when I talk about it, that's the shit that bothers me. Yeah. Is when, somebody who is religious comes to somebody who isn't so religious. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's like this through her words, and not just her, but she's in the majority when it comes to religious people, right? Yeah. And what bothers me is they turn people off, right? The mom, start fucking praying to somebody else, okay? Yeah. Because like, I don't want to hear your shit. Right. It's not working. You know what I mean? And that's what it hurts my heart to hear like stories like that because I hear it all the time.
And I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry, but I should say we did get pregnant. We did have a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, you have and your wife is a wonderful mother.
Right. So maybe this
from what I can see.
So maybe this guy was listening. He was just delayed. Maybe he just, in the Rolodex, we were like last on the, I mean, I don't know.
For sure.
So I want to say that to my mother if she is listening. Yeah. It did work.
It's like,
eventually.
It's like the DMV, take a number. Yeah.
We were like number 330 million. So
yeah,
we
for
like
sure. What the fuck? But probably. Yeah. Probably. But honestly, I think that's what it comes down to is like people will say that I'm praying for you, or you just I think about mental health, like in today's world. This is where religious people, I want to punch every single motherfucker in the throat when it comes to mental health.
Which will get you right into heaven, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody who has anxiety, and I've heard it before because I have loved people that I love very much in my life who deal with anxiety. And I've heard religious people, well, you need to pray more. You just need to pray more. And I want to be like, dude, shut the fuck up. Not for my sake, but because that mindset is going to turn so many people off to like the idea of Christianity, to the idea of Jesus, because they're going to think that we all believe, like, if you struggle with mental health, just pray more. What the fuck are you talking about? No, like,
that's not how it works.
Like, God created this world, and there are beautiful medicines and things within this world that can help us with the problems that we have, and it is not a matter of you just pray about it, and you're gonna be good to go. God, those people, they bother the shit out of me, but it's a part of a larger problem.
Sure,
that I'm revolving here, but basically what I've been talking about is religious people fuck it up for the people that are not, and that's why I hate religion, because people will sit here and think, okay, well, I took your advice, Mom. I started praying, and nothing's fucking happening.
Right.
So what the fuck am I supposed to do now? Yeah. You know what I mean? I certainly am not going to continue to put trust in God because I'm doing all the things I should be doing.
Right. And it's not working.
And nothing's fucking changing.
Yeah.
That's where I come back to, right? There's a famous bullshit cliche saying out there that I strongly hate, and I'm sure you've heard it. God won't give me anything I can't handle. You won't give me anything I can't handle. I think it's bullshit, right? I think that is such a fucking farce, and please do not believe it if a religious or Christian person has ever said to you, like, well, God won't give you more than...
Yeah.
Of course he's going to. Yeah. There's shit that happens to all of us that we cannot handle, right? Right. You guys tried very, very hard to have a child. I'm sure there were sleepless nights, there were frustrated nights, there were angry days, there was this just like, what the fuck, dude? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there are things that happen to every single one of us that we personally cannot handle.
For sure.
So that's where I come back to, I spend time mine is about a relationship. Right. You know what I mean? Because I like to flip it on its head and say, you know, God's not going to give me anything that he can't handle. Because as long as I'm just in relationship with him and I'm allowing to give myself time to be with him, listen to him, bring everything I have to him, you know what I mean? Like, I get this sense of just overwhelming peace that I'm able to walk with throughout every single day, that it's like, if something does go wrong, who fucking cares, dude? Like, bad shit's going to happen to every single person, and it's not this ladder of like, well, I spent time with God. I thought wonderful things were going to happen to me.
Sure. Yeah.
No, you stupid motherfuckers. Like, Jesus even said it in the Bible, those who follow me, he never said anything about you having an easy or good life. If anything, he said, if you follow me, your life's going to be fucking worse. Yeah. Like, from the outside perspective.
You're the rebellion.
But internally, you will have rest. You will have peace. Your soul will be at ease. And you will be able to handle anything by being in relationship with me. Right? So that's kind of the mindset I come at it with. And I get so bothered by anybody else who is like, just pray about it. Shut the fuck up,
that's the word.
Please.
Well, and you know,
I'm not saying that to your mother.
Of course not. Yeah. I'll cut that part out. We love you, Ma. No, and you know, I think there's more believability in the fact of like, because man, if you look at like, especially everything that we've been doing in space exploration and James Webb telescope and like everything that we know of like planets and stars and beings in life, like there's one planet, I forget the name of it, but it's like some weird like H640 is the planet or something, and it's like 4 million light years away. They think it's like an exact clone of Earth.
Oh wow!
But because the way light years work, technically we don't know if it existed yet because we're looking really in the past.
It's so trippy.
It's so weird. But you think about that, and you think about when you look up, and every single star in the sky is essentially a sun. Yeah. Could be, with planets around it, or one planet. Yeah. So when you look up and you just see in your vision of your little tiny stupid house, you look up, there's 1,000 stars that you could see. Yeah. But obviously there's an entire planet of people watching these different stars. There is infinity amount of stars. Yep. And out of all those planets, so far, We're the only living things on this planet. Not to brag a little bit, but we're kind of a big deal, okay? But when you think about that math and you're like, it could be coincidence. It could be gas and oxygen and all these things combining, and then we were able to live on this planet through millions and millions of years. We evolved into this, and that all could be true. Mm-hmm. But there's a possibility where it's like, it's way too perfect here. It's like the perfect amount of oxygen and the ozone layer protecting us from literally getting boiled. Yeah. Because there was a rip in the ozone over Australia at one point. Now it's repaired. But there was a rip to where if it stayed like that, everyone in Australia would die of skin cancer. Oh, fuck. That's how brutal.
I know, it's wild.
Sliver of... So imagine if the whole planet was like that. We wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
So it leads me to believe, okay, if there's a 1% chance that there is a God, I think it's more probable, me just being agnostic, objective, logical human being. Yeah. It's more realistic, I think, that it was created by a superpower, a superhuman, a spiritual entity, whatever. And now he's just like, have fun, humans. And now he's just sitting back and watching us. He's not doing shit. He's not listening to your prayer. He's not listening to my prayer. He's not making the earth a better place. He's doing none of that. The people that he created, the children, so to speak, of him giving birth to us, just like I did my kid. I can raise my kid for 18 years, but when she's 18, she's going to do what she wants. Yep. She's not going to listen to daddy. So I think he's at that point now where he's looking at our dumbass 18-year-old selves running around this planet with nuclear bombs, being idiots. And he's like, if you do, you do. You do, you don't, you don't. Yeah. Because, again, I look at it objectively. If we do ruin the earth, what is he going to do? Wherever he is, because obviously he didn't just make Earth, technically the universe, right? So he's just going to go make another planet. Screw these clowns. They screwed it up. He's not going to fix it because he could if he wanted to, right? Like, this is me being objective to where I think it's more probable that it was created, let's say, and now he's just looking back and he's letting it run its course. And it's this idea of us looking at monkeys in the Amazon. We don't interact with them. We watch them. I don't know if you follow like these shows on Netflix. Yeah. Fascinating what's happening to chimps right now, because not only have they been around obviously much longer than us, right? Technically, not you, but if we evolved from monkeys. Talking to the wrong crowd here.
I evolved from some sort of orangutan.
Especially right now, right? But when you look at that aspect and you're like, you look at chimps in the Amazon now, they're starting to use tools that they've created, and we did not interact at all. We're looking at them from hundreds of yards away. They've never had contact with humans before. But you're seeing like orangutans and chimpanzees use spears to hunt fish. Yeah. So just, again, objectively think about that. Mm-hmm. That's wild, because they don't know we exist. They don't know who Donald Trump is. Yeah. They don't know what an iPhone is.
That's a shame.
It's tough. Monkeys, get off your high horse and start doing some research. Yeah. But they don't know any of that stuff. Very similar to an ant doesn't know that you're about to step on them, right? It's that fourth dimension that I'm kind of talking about, to where I think that exists maybe with us. Yeah. To where maybe there is a spiritual entity or there's a different world that they're looking at us right now saying they're going to do what they're going to do. Like, we're not going to interfere. Yep. You know, we're just going to watch and see how this thing plays out. And I think that's more probable. And that's what I kind of live my life on, because if there is someone watching me, I want to do the right things. I want to have values, and I want to, do what I think is right in the moment. But it's just, again, it's hard for me to look at my daughter and say, Scientology is incorrect. Yeah. Because how do I know? Yeah. How do I know if it's, what if she wants to believe that? Am I going to say she's, that's the wrong path? She should be Christian. She should be Catholic. She should be Jewish. Like, who am I to say? And I think that, again, is the challenge, to your point with religion. Yeah. Is there is so many things out there, and they're all having different values. And I think it all came from the same place. I think ultimately it was just people sitting around a campfire, quote unquote, either telling stories that they've seen, whether it's the story of Jesus, or they're just making up shit because they want their kid to stop doing bad things. Yeah, for sure. I think there's a little bit of that too. Yeah. There's a reason why Santa Claus was, invented. Yeah. It wasn't
so Coca-Cola could sell Coke.
That's exactly right. In fact, that's a true story if anyone wants to look it up. 100 years ago, right? I think it's what it was. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's kind of the thing is like we tell our kids, just like Elf on the Shelf and just like Santa, hey, if you do bad things, you're not going to get gifts. You know, I think there's a little bit of a nugget of religion in there to where we want them to do good things. Mm-hmm. And if that's what it takes, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I think there is something wrong with, you know, telling someone to do this or do that to go down this certain path. And I think that's kind of the, you know, the nuts and bolts of what we're talking about is like, you know, there's two types of religions, right? There's a religion where there's a belief and spirituality, and then there's a cult.
Yes.
There's two things. You know, I'm not going to have you drink the Kool-Aid if you don't want it. You know, I'm just going to let you kind of do your thing. And I think that's what people have to get a little bit better at is like take the values from certain religious groups that make the most sense. I think there's so many great values in religion, especially community. That's one thing that people don't talk about a lot of is like you could point fun or, you know, talk about people who go to church or, you know, say they're too religious or whatever. But there is something very powerful about being a part of community. Like we don't have that anymore.
For sure.
You know, like the closest thing we have to community is like, you know, a Discord group.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
That's true.
I don't think there's people that sit around and have 100 people with the same idea or even not the same idea. Maybe just the same people with the same energy going because they had a rough day or they had a rough week or they want to look up to someone, you know, and you have a priest just talking some motivational shit. You know what I mean? And that you look around to the left and the right, these total strangers, and you're just part of this community that you're just so grateful and thankful. And for a moment, for that moment, that hour, 2 hours, whenever you're in that sermon where it's like, you don't care about the phone. You don't care about your mortgage. You don't care. You just care about the community. You care about uplifting people. And I think that's something beautiful. And I think we don't have that in a non-religious way. I think it would appeal to a lot more people if it wasn't so religious because, you know, I'm a businessman at heart, right? As a business owner, as you are, I look at everything like on ROI.
Yeah. And that's the return, baby.
It's like Sunday, you know, Sunday morning.
I know.
Do I want to do that?
Dude, we don't even go on Sunday mornings. Our church started holding a service on Tuesday nights.
Wow.
Because the pastor was like, there's no one day of the week that's holier than others. Like, some people work on Sunday. You want to come to church? We got a Tuesday night service.
And there's also not football on Tuesday. So I think
I know. It's like one of the 2 days a week I'm not watching football. So
how funny would it be if that priest, the only reason he did it is because he's a Vikings fan? And
he is. Oh, motherfucker.
And he only didn't want to skip football.
That's probably it.
Yeah. That would be even a better story. Yeah. You know, but it's ironic that we're talking about this topic. I don't think anyway, talked about religion on this podcast before. I'm at like 250 episodes, I think.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I swear to God.
I've never had anybody like, gosh,
no one wants to talk about it.
I hate that I'm the person because there's people that could talk way better about Christianity than I ever could.
Yeah.
The only thing like I can share with people is like what I know and what I personally practice.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, which is why I think you're a good candidate. Not candidate.
Yeah.
But like I didn't plan, obviously I'm talking to you about this, but I know you are religious and I think it's fascinating when people, cause I want to learn more. Like I know I don't know everything. Obviously in fact, I maybe know 1% of a few things.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know a full thing of something.
Yeah.
And I think it's a cool conversation because now more than ever, I think people need community. And that's why I started this podcast was because people don't talk anymore.
Yeah.
You know, like sometimes, unfortunately, the only time I get a chance to talk to my friends is on this podcast because, you know, XYZ. Like, look at us. I mean, I don't know how long we've been going, but we haven't looked at our phone once.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think
good conversation.
Good conversation. And I think when you sit down at like a bar, your buddy goes to the bathroom, boom, Instagram. You're scrolling.
Yeah, for
sure.
He
comes back, he sits down. Oh, he's on his phone. Let me check my emails real quick.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, it's 20 minutes later and you both are on your phones.
Yeah.
Versus like what we're doing where we're just talking about topics that I think, you know, hopefully people will get value out of, but if they don't, fuck you. But I think it's cool to have this conversation because it is something that I don't necessarily think about all the time.
Yeah.
But a lot of people ask me like because sometimes on this show, I get a lot of people that say I'm stoic and I'm too objective and why don't I believe in this and why don't I believe in that? Especially because of who I said I voted for. I get so much hate now.
I know.
It's crazy. It's more crazy because I have a daughter, and I was like, obviously you don't know policy because who I voted for is for her.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like it's not, you obviously don't know what the fuck's going on then if you're saying that I don't know what I'm doing. Because I actually know what I'm doing.
Yep.
Maybe you were just headline reading. And I think that's the problem. And I don't know if you could look back on, if you're really curious, you look back on some of the posts that I did, and everyone's arguing about like women's rights and how could you do this to your daughter and all this stuff. And I'm like, first of all, the idea that you would even comment, you don't know me.
Yeah.
You're lucky you're not next to me.
Buckle up, everybody. Here comes the two white dudes
Here it
talking about politics.
And women's rights.
And women's rights. What up, baby?
No, but I think it's, first of all, I have a daughter and I have a wife that shares these beliefs. My wife, not my daughter, she's one. But
she shares them.
She shares them.
Yeah.
But it's more interesting that people don't want to have conversations about it. And every single time I get in, I have a rule. If it's 3 comments that you don't disagree, so meaning I make a post, usually someone has like something stupid to say, and then I'll respond pretty objectively. Yeah. And I'll say, hey, listen, man, this is why I did it. You don't have to necessarily believe in it.
Yeah.
But
isn't that beautiful?
It's a gorgeous thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, don't tell me why I did this or why I shouldn't do it. Similar to religion, what we're talking about, where if you voted, for Harris or Trump, doesn't matter because you voted who you voted for. For whatever reason, you think that's the right call. What you shouldn't do is tell people why they should vote for your candidate.
Yeah.
This is the problem. So I have this rule. 3 comments is my rule. Let me tell you what I mean. So if I make a post, maybe it's controversial or whatever, someone comments, I send an objective thing, hey, this is why I did it. If they comment back, so that's 3 comments now. If they comment back and still argue with me, then I go, listen, man, why don't you do this? Why don't you just come on my show? We'll talk. It'll be virtual. You don't have to meet me, but we'll do it through Zoom or whatever, and we'll just talk. 30 minutes, an hour. Let me know what your thought process is, not on who you voted for or your religious beliefs or whatever, but why you're having this conversation with me like this.
Why?
Yep. Why are you talking to me like, A, you know me, but B, you think you're right? Because for someone who's so right, who thinks they're so right, I gotta talk to you. I can't do it in the comment section. Every single time that I've done that, maybe, no joke, 50 times in the course of me having this podcast, one person has come on the show.
Oh, really?
The rest ghosted me.
Really?
So that tells me you're a comment warrior. You like to just say shit in the comments. You don't have any proof. You don't have any views to back it up. You just read a headline, saw someone didn't believe in whatever you believe, and you think that's incorrect.
Well, I can say confidently and factually, you're a pussy.
You are. Yes. Okay.
For
sure. And it's unfortunate because, again, I love to have conversations with people, even virtually. Like, it kind of sucks virtually because you can't really, pick up on cues and you're not really in their ear like you and I are in now.
Yeah.
Like, there's something special about being in person for sure. But that to me is the challenge with human beings nowadays, is they don't want to have conversations unless it's in the comments.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
Well, unless it's in the comments or unless it's like, nobody's open to nobody's open to maybe their mind being shifted or seeing somebody else's point of view, right? Like,
right.
People today go into a conversation, which I don't even know if you can call it a conversation. They go into a conversation with like a predetermined outcome where it's like, I know how this is going to end for me. And in my mind, like, what's the fucking point?
Yeah.
Why are you even talking to somebody if it's, where your head and your heart is going to be by the time you're done talking? Like, maybe be open to a different fucking perspective.
So true. Yeah, so true. And, I don't think you have to. Here's the beauty about having a conversation. You don't have to do it. So, like, we're talking about religion right now. I'm not going to go to church.
Yeah, exactly.
But I respect why you believe in it.
And I'm not sitting here telling you should.
Right,
either,
exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's the difference, is it's okay to have 2 different beliefs. And I think that's how we can live as a society, is because not only can you have different beliefs, which is absolutely beautiful in this country, because, newsflash, not every country is like that.
Yeah.
Women sometimes can't
You're
even
told what to believe.
Right.
And
sometimes
you go to jail if you don't.
Right. And sometimes women can't even show their whole bodies.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So the fact that you're allowed to believe, you're allowed to vote for a woman, you're allowed to do anything you want, you could be anything you want, you can go anywhere you want. It's such a beautiful thing. But the fact that you can't sit down and disagree with someone's belief in an objective way, without trying to convince them that they should be, because the fact that again, which is why I'm agnostic, the fact that for me to sit up here and be so arrogant and so stupid, I'm not saying you are, obviously, but for me to say that is correct when I don't know about the topic, you know about the topic. So
yeah,
well,
yeah,
more than I do. You probably talk to the guy more than I have. I mean, he doesn't know me. But like for me to sit back and say you should be agnostic or atheist because XYZ, when it's not even in like the first 5 things I care about.
Yeah,
it's just not.
Yep.
I'm sure it is for you, and that's a beautiful thing. But I think that's what's great about your perspective is you don't try to push it on other people. And I think this is how we have conversation and how people learn too. Like hopefully if there's, all these millions of people watching, all these people watching that hopefully whether they're religious or maybe not, they're not going to be swayed in one way or the other. They could just be like, I get it.
Yeah.
Because I got a buddy that feels that way. Oh yeah, that makes sense because I got a buddy that, voted this way. Like that's how we have conversations. And I think that's the most beautiful thing about having a podcast in general is just having those objective,
absolutely,
real conversations.
If we can't have constructive, open-minded conversations, like we will die as a society.
Yeah.
Right. People,
you see it happening, right?
Oh, for sure. Like look at how divided everybody is, right? And that's a byproduct. That is a direct byproduct is the fact that we don't care to fucking listen to each other.
Right.
And it's a big problem. It's a huge problem. And I would just encourage people like, don't go in with a predetermined outcome, right?
Yeah.
That is a recipe for failure. You're going to lose going into a conversation. You can come out feeling self-righteous, like, oh, I echo chambered the shit out of that conversation. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's what good is that?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that is the problem, right? Is like people already kind of have that predetermined belief. But that's so funny because how are you that confident about something?
Yeah.
That's what's so weird to me where like I have a lot of buddies that I invited that voted Democrat, and newsflash, if you don't follow my feed, like I voted on the right only because I was going to vote for RFK.
Yeah.
And I believe more now on, the Republican side of things. I disagree with a lot of what the Republicans stand for, religion being one of them. I don't think that should be pushed on people. But I also don't think a lot of other things, like I don't want to go down the line, but I just believe there's more values on that side than the left, unfortunately. Yeah. And I have a lot of Democrat friends, probably more Democrat friends than Republican friends. And I invited them on the show because I think it's interesting to talk to a Democrat.
Yeah.
And I voted Democrat. I voted for Obama.
Yeah.
Twice. So, like, I get it. But I think I voted for Obama because he was, like, the president that we needed. The dude could, he could talk.
Yeah.
He could talk to world leaders. And I think that's why a lot of people voted for Biden because of 50 years of experience. But we obviously
because he couldn't talk?
Because he couldn't talk. And he's like, getting control. But I think that's the interesting thing about people is like they're so easily unshifted. Where me, I don't give a fuck. Like these people are not that important, bro. Like number one, let's go back to women's rights real quick because I think it's hilarious. Is not that I think we as white men should control anybody's body, male or female. But when people don't understand the policies and what's happening, when Trump did overturn Roe v. Wade in 2022, so that was 2022.
Yeah.
Biden's been in office since 2020, right? So for 4 years. He could have reversed it if he wanted to, right? No, he can't because it's a Supreme Court issue. So even if Harris got voted in, she wouldn't be able to change anything. And the beautiful thing about that again, people don't do research and understand is when it comes to the Supreme Court, you do not want them to have control over things. You don't, because they're the ones that are in charge of national bans.
Yes.
Which is why guns, weed, and all the things that we love dear as Americans are controlled by the state. Why? Because the people can vote on that. If you're very familiar with the voting process, you could vote for a lot of things this election. One of them was for the president, and the other one, in my state in particular, was Amendment 4, right? Which I don't know if you guys have there, but in Florida, you can vote on abortion rights.
Oh, okay.
So each state you can vote for that. That's where you leave it up to.
Oh, definitely not Minnesota, dude.
No, definitely
not. Tim Walz is the governor of Minnesota.
Yeah. Who's that? No, just kidding.
Yeah.
But they leave it up to the state because now people can vote for abortions. Or they could vote for weed. Like, weed is now not legal because it didn't get passed. I forget the percentage, but it didn't get legalized, which is unfortunate. But I know.
People of Florida did not.
I know. Rigged.
It's all the retired people you have.
Rigged
That's
election.
what it is.
But, again, this is the thing where if you voted that it should be legal and it didn't get passed, you got to chalk it up as a loss. Okay, at least we get to vote on it. That's the whole idea of women's rights and guns and all that stuff. Like, if you want a gun, you can have one in Florida, you can have one in Texas, but you can't have one in California. Like, it should be left up to the people in all instances. The whole idea of overturning Roe v. Wade was to get it out of the hands of the government.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want them to make any decisions like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So the whole national ban thing is just propaganda bullshit that, people on the left believe. And I tell people this that voted Democrat, because every time when I posted something where I voted for my daughter, and they're like, oh, man, I can't believe you did this. Like, I hope your girl, one in particular pissed me off. I invited him on my podcast immediately to debate him. And he goes, I hope that your daughter never finds out that you voted for Republican.
Hey.
And I go, bro.
Yeah.
I DM'd him. I was like, let's come on my podcast. You don't know me.
Yeah.
I don't know this guy. Ghosted me, right? But again, this is the whole thing where you don't know.
You're like, homie, I've been telling her every day. I wake her up every morning. I voted for Trump.
And so are you. Because that guy's going to live to his 200. I don't know how he's made it this far.
Shit, dude.
How has he done it? But again, this is the interesting thing to where if you talk to people and you have the conversation, and all my Democratic friends have denied coming on my show to talk about this because for whatever reason they're scared. I don't know what they're thinking about. Because I believe in so many things that are on both sides. But unfortunately, the left has shifted a little bit more. I'll give you an example. And you should appreciate this as a Christian, there's speeches that you can look at for Obama and Biden less than 10 years ago, and Hillary as well, shocker, where they'll actually say on camera in debates and when they're asked, marriage should be between a man and a woman only. But now, 2024, Biden changed his tune. The Democratic Party changed it. Why? Because they want votes, because they know Republicans aren't going to make that a public statement because Republicans are very religious, in theory.
Well, you know who's never once spoke out against gay marriage?
Ding, ding, ding. What do you got for him, Johnny?
It's your boy Donald Trump. Okay.
He even held like marriages at his place in here in Florida.
Yeah, that's
like
funny.
Gay marriages at his place. So again, it's all propaganda. And by the way, he has said horrible, stupid, retarded things.
Yeah.
No question. This guy is not perfect. In fact, I would say he's more imperfect than perfect. But the fact that he's surrounding himself by people that I think are a lot smarter than him and hopefully he'll listen to. And if he doesn't, you could tell me in 4 years that I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
But I know that the left is not the way to go this year. It's just not. It was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but it's shifted so much. I mean, you look at California in general, that jabroni, did you know he just put a law in state that you do not need an ID to vote? It's a law that you don't need one. Not that you do need one, that you do not need an ID to vote, which means...
Dude, I don't understand that. Like, I need an ID anytime I buy a bottle of wine. I need an ID anytime I hop in the car. I had to have a driver's license in my pocket when I drove to the studio.
Yeah. Have to.
I don't have to show an ID to vote for the fucking president of the United States?
Crazy. And again, why is that, right? Like, what is the reason behind that? Why would you ever make that a law if not to cheat the system?
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
That is the only thing that actually does make sense.
Exactly. And again, it's not the only state. There's numerous states, I forget. But ironically, it's a lot of the swing states, the ones that decide the votes. And then you look at like the vast majority of immigrants that unfortunately have illegal immigrants rather, because again, that's another thing that I put on my post where I was like, I'm protecting my future daughter from illegal immigrants. Yeah. And they go, I can't believe you would call them that. They're people. And I go, yeah, but they're legal.
They're an illegal immigrant.
Like there's a legal process.
Yeah.
Like my family's from Italy. Like they came legally through the process at the time, which was kind of bullshit, but Ellis Island bullshit. Like they came on a boat and they signed a thing.
Grandfathered in.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
But I mean, they went through legally, right? Like there's and my wife, she's Dominican. Like she was born in Dominican, legal process.
Yeah.
Her mother and father, legal process. That's cool, man. But I just got back from Italy. If I stayed in Italy for more than 6 months without a visa or dual citizenship, I'd be kicked out. In every country on the planet, you can't stay there without a visa or some sort of citizenship.
Yeah.
Even Canada.
Yeah.
We're the only country that's like, you know what? Come on in. I'm sure you're fine. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
The country was founded on immigrants. No. People settled here and then raised humans here in the country. And those humans eventually was like, you know what? We should let people in. Let's let people, legally come on in from Italy, come on in from Africa, Central America. And then eventually all these amazing, beautiful immigrants created this country legally. It's not like millions of people came in illegally and made this country what it is. Let's not get it twisted.
Why is that concept? I mean, and this is like a genuine question. This isn't like me trying to belittle somebody or talk down to them, but like, why is that concept so fucking hard to grasp? Yeah. That it's like there's a legal process and there's an illegal process, right? And if you choose the illegal way, like you assume like you have to be willing to take the consequence. Right. You understand the risks. Yeah. Deportation might be one of them. And America is not a fucking demon for deporting you and upholding the fucking law. Yeah. I don't understand that.
And by the way, for every country doing the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
No country allows it. And I think a lot of this is the beautiful thing with this country is we're very passionate and we're very forgiving. And I think overall, like you look at what's happening overseas, Middle East and Africa, Mexico, like every country, there's so many shitty things going on. Like people do not have it as good. Like we're very lucky as Americans. Even like compared to Europe, like there's a lot of good things about Europe, but there's a lot of shitty things about Europe too. Like in the UK recently, they're arresting people for posting on social media. There's a lot of shitty things going on overseas, right? But just in third world countries, I think we become a little bit compassionate where we're like, here I am driving around in my Tesla and I got my iPhone 16 and, I think we need to just let everyone in so they can have the opportunities that I have.
Sounds like a lot of white privilege you got there.
Yeah, that was very, very typical white privilege of me. But I think that's what people look at, right? Is they're like, let's let everyone have that opportunity. But little do they know that when they get here, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very difficult process for them to become what we have been fortunate enough to be born and raised here. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, the reason why communities do not thrive in other parts of the world is because people leave. That's what happens. Yep. I'll use Italy as an example only because my family's from there and I just got back from there. So I could talk to it a little bit. And I got a buddy that moved from Rome here in the U.S. Shout out Amadeo. But the reason why Italy is now hurting, just like a lot of other countries, and they're giving all these incentives for people to go to Italy, particularly Americans because we have money, is because people left. Like my grandfather and a lot of other people, millions and millions of people left Italy, came to New York, New Jersey, spread throughout this beautiful country, and now Italy is in a massive depopulation issue. Why is that? It's because everyone left and now the communities are hurting. Yeah. You need to stay there and figure it the fuck out, just like we did in the U.S. Is it going to suck? Sure. Are you going to have overturned governments? Probably. Mm-hmm. Is it going to? Are people going to die in the? Yeah, probably. But why is that Americans' job to clean it up? I think we need to get out of this habit when it was really cool to do this stuff, but now there's 8 billion people on the planet. Yeah. Let's relax. Let's worry about the people here in the country for 2 years. Yeah. We need to work out something with like NATO and these other countries where it's like, listen, bro. Like if I'm, Johnny, like you're having issues financially, right? Yeah. So am I, let's say. You come up to me, you're like, Tony, I need money, bro. And I go, dude, we're struggling. Yeah. Give me like a couple years. Let me get my shit together and then I'll help you out. That's what the U.S. needs to do. We're like, Chicago's rough. Let's fix Chicago first, and then maybe I'll help out Ukraine.
Dude, there's a reason why if they say that the air cabin or the cabin loses like pressure, right, in a plane, put your own fucking mask on before you put somebody else's on because I can't help you if I'm dead. Yeah, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I was even because we went to Italy. I don't keep rubbing that in, but my wife even said that. She was like, "So what happens if the plane goes down?" I go, "I'm gonna put my mask on first." Yeah. She's like, "What? I can't believe you wouldn't take care of our daughter first." I go, "Hold on, take your time.
Hold on,
take your time."
I'm only thinking about her.
I
can't help her if I pass out.
Yeah. And by the way, the FAA wouldn't agree with me either, okay? I need to put on my mask first, okay? Yeah. They told me that. So that's the thing I think people need to kind of put in their brain. And, again, this is where people need to get a little bit more objective, I think, with things where, you want to help out everybody. And I get the whole process of let everyone in and we'll figure it out later. But then also out of all those people that come in, let's say there's 1 million people that come in a year, which is a lot more. But if it's 1 million, if there's 10 bad eggs in there, just 10, they can cause havoc. Look at the Roman Empire, okay? If that's not the perfect example of how an empire can fall, it didn't take 1 million people, right? Like, it's just, we need to figure out a way to everyone live, safe and agree with each other, or not even agree with each other, but just the common sense stuff is what's crazy about politics now.
Yeah.
Where, like, all the common sense stuff, I feel like...
it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Well, it does exist.
Well, okay, true.
On one side.
Yes, that's...
But, again, this is me, like, everyone who didn't agree with that statement I just said, you're not being very objective. Because at least I'm objective in the sense of, like, the right side was not always the correct... logical side. They were the batshit crazy folks.
It's just the left has gone so far, and I don't even. You're talking about trying to get some of your Democratic friends on, even mine too. And I don't want to speak for them, but I don't think the Democratic Party is the Democratic Party anymore. It's not what it was, right? And I think most of them would agree with that statement that it's gone so far, to the left that it's made people who have generally voted Democrat have to sit and be like, I don't know if I can, like, vote for that. Like, that is not the Democratic Party that I grew up voting for, understanding. What other option do I have? Okay, well, I could vote independent, but it's not going to matter. I guess I'm going to go over here because you guys have gone so fucking far the other way that it's like, I just can't even... I can't do anything with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think we've honestly reached a point where, and people can light you up in your comments and they can disagree with me if they want to. That's fine. All right. Yeah. I spent 40 minutes talking about Jesus. They probably already hate me.
Yeah.
But
redeem yourself, would you?
I think most of them think that it's so far gone that it's almost like it can't even be reformed at this point. It's like, unless you literally break all that shit down to the core level and start thinking differently and build it back up to something completely different than whatever the fucking mess you're doing right now, we're going to be forced to vote over here because you're leaving us with no choice.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's where we're at, right? It's like every empire falls.
Yeah.
And, I think if you look at the average, like the Roman Empire, I think lasted 249 or 250 years. We're getting there.
We're getting there.
We're getting close.
Yeah.
So, I think it's like, we're at the point now to where it's crumbling. Mm-hmm. We need a reset, and then hopefully we can build this thing back up.
Yep.
At a more objective and even keel.
Yeah.
Because I think on the far left, I just combined both parties. That's what we should need. Do. But on the far left and far right, there's crazies on each.
Yeah.
It's so funny because when someone asks me who I voted for, and I go Trump, and they go, "Oh, I can't believe you did that! Like, how could you vote for a racist?"
Like, I'm not the only one, dude.
It's like, it's the vast majority. But also too, like when my buddies, I ask them, I go, "Who'd you vote for?" And they go for Kamala, and I go, "Okay."
Exactly.
Like that's the difference. Is every Trump supporter like that? Of course not. There's probably more crazy Trump supporters than not.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people that voted for him because they didn't want what's been happening as the last 4 years. Because, again, this is the problem if you're a Democrat and you're not listening to this objectively, where Obama ran it for 8 years, Biden ran it for 4, Trump was sliced in the middle for 4 years. So the Democrats have run this country more. So if you're happy with things, keep voting Democrat. If you're not, who cares who the president is? Just vote on that side. Let's see how this thing goes. How bad could it get? And if it gets bad, you get to tell us, I told you so.
Yeah.
Which is like what they love to do anyway.
Yep.
So, and I voted for both. And I think if you talk to a lot of Democrats, they've always voted Democrat. Mm-hmm. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Because now you're voting for the people, not necessarily the policy. Because again, the policies have changed over the years so much. I go back to the whole gay marriage thing where Obama is on record videos saying that he doesn't believe in gay marriage.
Yeah.
So if you're telling me.
So is Biden.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're telling me right now that you believe in everything the Democratic Party stands for, that's crazy because just like Republicans, everything has changed. So you have to be able to adapt and change. You shouldn't be invested into one party. You shouldn't be invested into one guy. Like when I tell Trump supporters that Trump's an idiot, but I voted for him, they always say, no, he's not. He talks a little bit off. I go, stop. he's an idiot, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You voted for him. There's nothing wrong. But don't say that every president is perfect.
Yeah.
You're holding these guys up on a pedestal, right? Like, they're okay to make mistakes. They're human beings. But when you say that they're perfect and not as bad as the other candidate, that's ignorance.
Yeah.
Because they are. Every single ad that he put out was mostly lies.
Yeah.
You know why? Because it's legal in the state. It's legal in the country to put out bullshit lies.
Yeah.
Did everyone know that? It's a fact that you can...
Somebody fact check that.
Fact check it. You can actually, by law, say whatever you want only in political campaigns. When it comes to pharmaceutical drugs, there's only 2 countries in the world that allow pharmaceutical commercials.
Guess who's one of them?
So you can't believe everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, this is the problem where it's all meant to drive us in one direction and to get you to vote for somebody. So they do tell lies. They're not perfect. You just kind of have to take yourself away from politics and look objectively at the topics that are in hand for this 4 years. Mm-hmm. Because in 20 years, it's going to be different. There's going to be different policies. Republicans might not believe the same things they believe now. Same thing with the Democrats. It's like you have to be able to change and adapt. And when I talk to my friends that have always voted Democrat or Republican and they're in their 40s, I'm like, how?
Yeah.
How is that? That doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's changed so much in decades. You have to be able to adapt and change. And that is what's beautiful about this country.
Yeah.
Is you have to be able to be objective and look on both sides because it's so cool that we can flop back and forth. Because not a lot of countries like Cuba, there is no left or right.
Yeah.
Russia, you don't get to say someone who's taken over Putin. Like it's been Putin for 20 years.
There's one way and one way only.
And it's the Putin way.
Yeah, it's the Putin way.
So you should be very thankful that you can flip-flop and go back and forth to parties. But I think a lot of people are so committed and dedicated to these people, and it's crazy to me that they are.
I think another thing that kind of always amazes me and is funny is the how much emphasis we put on the president and how in some cases I think delusionally we think that they have how much power we actually think they have.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like president is one person. Like there is I don't know if you've read up on, taken a civics class or read up on US history, but the whole government as a whole is what's deciding everything for everybody, not the president. Yes. So
and how do we know that? Well, it's quite simple, really. Is I think we all could agree Biden hasn't been fit for quite some time, and that's okay to admit. The guy's old.
Still running.
It's still running, but yet the VP was out campaigning.
Yeah.
So
where the fuck were mom and dad?
Like
where the fuck did they go?
They left us with cocaine and drugs, and we're at the house with all these party supplies.
Yeah,
and they just bounced, and here we are just going crazy with it. That's nuts. So that's how much pull the president has is zero.
Yeah.
It's the government is this well-oiled machine. And that I think is what's terrifying with Trump, with the government, is because, and same thing with RFK, like the one thing I really wanted to vote RFK for was, again, as a dad, is to shake it up, to shake up the FDA, to shake up the CDC. You could say whatever you want about that whole 2020 fiasco. I don't want to say it because I've gotten so many videos pulled from YouTube. Saying that word. Yeah. But all that stuff that happened, there were some missed opportunities. There was some squirreliness going on. We can all admit it now, hopefully. And I think if you look at like his agenda, he's saying a lot of crazy stuff in the years. Like one of them is like fluoride is bad in water. That's not necessarily true. Like the science doesn't support that.
Yeah.
Vaccines, he says some crazy stuff there. But I think there is some things that he says that is very interesting, like Trump.
Yeah.
Like Kamala. I mean, listen, even though she were off the teleprompter, she said some nice things. It makes sense. Same thing with Obama. But the policy is what you have to look at. And I think as a new dad, especially to a daughter, there's a lot of things that I care about. The one thing that is like the staple in my house is food and health. Food. Yep. That's the fucking thing, bro. Because that causes so much disease and inflammation and so many issues. And everyone's like, well, why do you care about food? So why don't you let her live? Let her eat Cheetos. And then I go, that way of thinking is the reason why 70% of the country is obese. We spend the most money out of any country in the world, the most money in healthcare.
Yeah.
We have the most expensive healthcare, and we have the most illness. Walk me through how we as taxpayers spend the most on healthcare. You as a human being spend the most on insurance policy.
Yep.
And yet you are the sickest out of any country on the planet, except third world countries. That doesn't count.
Yeah.
But like civilized societies like Europe and Australia, like we are the most sick, but we spend the most. Shouldn't we have cures for everything?
Okay.
Are we going to go down like the cancer?
We probably do. I'm just.
But if we did, they're not going to give it to us because why?
No,
it's a
dude.
business. So again, this is my thing to where they're feeding you the poison that they've told you. Let them live a little.
Yeah.
Have cake at Publix and Kroger.
Yeah.
It's just food dye and icing. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you consume that, studies after studies show that it is poison and it's causing all these diseases that you and I pay for. So it's like, okay, so we can remove the bad food and then we'd have less diseases. And by the way, we'd spend less money on health insurance.
Yeah.
Oh, but if we do that, you're taking away my God-given right of being American. Because as an American, I should be able to smoke cigars, have my steak, and then have my Cheetos as a dessert. No, dude, get that out of your head. Like, we need to stop thinking about, let's be all we can be and eat whatever we want, do whatever we want.
Yeah.
Because we're going to die young, lonely, and poor.
Yeah.
So you live like these other countries, like in Europe and Italy in particular, they're living to 100. And they're walking away loving their life at 100 years old. Like, I want to do that here in this country. You know?
Yeah. I think you are correct. I think what's unfortunate is we've put our faith and trust into the government and the FDA and organizations to keep us safe and to keep us healthy. And I think at some point, and you understand this now more than ever because you're a dad, that we have to develop personal responsibility. Okay? As Americans, as human beings on this planet as a whole, you need to develop personal responsibility and be responsible for yourself. If you are putting blind trust in every entity other than your own decisions, right? Like, I guess you got what's coming to you.
Yeah.
I don't know. But to me, it's unfortunate that we do put our trust in these organizations and then we end up with, 70% obesity.
Right.
I think it was you that said it to me 2 years ago. Look at a picture of a beach in the 50s compared to today.
Yeah.
And everybody is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if anybody's seen the Pixar movie WALL-E. Have you ever seen that before?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're all just fucking giant, rolling around in their little chairs, just robots that do what they're told and eat the food that they're told to eat. You know what I mean?
It's kind of scary. It's kind of scary.
But I think if people develop personal responsibility, they started to do their own research, and you start to like critically think about things, and it is okay to have a healthy skepticism of governments and organizations telling you should do something one way.
That's right.
In the end, they could be right. You should be doing it that way.
Yeah.
But you should take the time when you're told to do something a certain way to say, you know what? Thanks for letting me know. That's right. I'm going to do a little bit of research. I'm going to come to my own conclusion. You know what I mean? A little personal responsibility. And you may end up being right. And at least I did my due diligence. And I think it's do what works for you, but like actually do some research. Don't just blindly trust what's...
Dude, and if that doesn't encompass, I think, this whole podcast, which a lot of rambling, a lot of good stuff, I think. But in terms of like just wrapping this bitch up, I think the important thing is the values that you instill in your family, doing your own research, having less accountability in others and relying on other people, whether we talk about religion or politics or policies, it's all about what is best for you. Do your own research and just be objective in thinking. One of my favorite quotes, I believe, unfortunately, it's from Elon Musk. Shout out Elon. But he said
hey, buddy.
Hey, bud, what's up? He said one thing that's fascinating, which is you can be pro everything. That's fine.
Yep.
But you should never go all in on anything. Because at one point, like we mentioned, everybody in the world told us that the world was flat.
Yeah.
But there was a group of people that said, hold on, maybe not. Let's keep doing this thing. Let's research. And then we found out. It's the science method, right? It's figuring out.
For sure.
There's always something that we can actually look into and dive deeper into. And I think that's what hopefully this administration is going to do. And a lot of people objectively can look at this and say, let me keep doing the research. Let me not argue.
Yep.
Let's talk. Because I think the more we talk, the more solutions come out of it.
Absolutely.
So anyway, Johnny, this was great.
Can I give a book plug before we go here?
Book plug, and let people know where they could find you too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, for sure. I just want to give a book plug, just circling back to kind of what we talked about in the beginning.
Yes.
This was all about me when it comes to Christianity and my belief. This is all about what I do, not what I'm telling other people to do. But I do want to say, if there is anybody out there that's like curious, wants to know more, has looked at Christianity from the outside and kind of been hesitant, maybe because a dumb religious fuck has been like pushing you away and screwing it up.
Yes.
The only thing I would recommend is stop listening to the religious people in your life. Okay. The majority of them are doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And a book I would highly, highly, highly recommend if you have questions and you kind of just want to learn about Jesus more, look up the book. It's called With by Skye Jethani. And just read that and go from there, right? If you're like green on religion, Christianity, whatever, don't listen to other people crack that book open and then go from there, right? I'm not telling you what to think, but I think it's a great book. My name's Johnny. I am on social media.
Podcast?
Johnny Jakubowski. Soda Nerds, SOTA Nerds is me and my nerdy buddies do a podcast up there in Minnesota. So
love it. And I do want to thank our sponsors of this episode, the Holy Bible. You can get it at your local hotel. It's in that little cabinet on the right when you sit down.
They got apps too.
And they got an app you get down. No, just kidding. No, but Johnny, this was great, man. I learned a lot personally. It's always fun talking to you. I'm glad we could do it in person here.
Yeah.
And by the way, shout out MMG Studios here in Tampa, Florida.
Oh, hell yeah.
You know what I mean? This is dope. And shout out Haley producing and watching us right now, being like, hey, wrap this bitch up.
Yeah.
All right, dude, we're wrapping it up.
Guys out of here.
Here we go. Thanks again for coming on, bro.
No doubt.
Go check out Johnny, guys. We'll talk to you later. Peace.